Hello. Um, my name is Sean. I am also known as a Black sex therapist on TikTok and Instagram. And I just had to jump on and do a real quick video on something that I see that was extremely troubling to me on TikTok. So last night I took the time to actually sit in on several um, lives live feeds that they had on TikTok. The algorithm that I constantly receive is about African American women and men who are coaches, or talking about relationship, and marriage and life and mental health. So that's the algorithm because that's what I search for. That's what I look for to find great videos that I can share on my platform with the people that follow me. And I've noticed that there has been a rise in what I call the TikTok therapist. Um, but I don't enjoy watching people who have no credentials and about or any training on relationships, or life, some on some aspects even life at the age that they are, um, spewing advice and nonsense without it being a disclaimer put out that they are not professionals, they are not trained, or that this is for entertainment purposes only, that the person who's really having some mental health issues or concerns should be seeking the help of a trained and licensed professional. They're just not doing that. I was witness to some horrific comments, the way that some of the hosts were allowing other people in their platform to emotionally and verbally harass people who, as a professional, could clearly see had some um, mental health discomfort at the very least. And they were being eaten alive. And I know, yes, it's social media. They have an option of not going on and putting themselves out there to be vulnerable, to be slaughtered, uh, per se. But when you're in a weakened mental state, you don't have that ability to put that together. You're just out seeking some reassurance, some connection, someone who can give any advice of any kind to them. And these hosts of these live broadcasts are not only being triggered, they're showing their biases. They're not telling the followers that this is their opinion or there are other ways of thinking, or none of what they're saying is steeped in facts or evidence or research. It's just their opinion. Now, I'm not saying that just because you're not school taught or institutionally trained that you cannot provide advice to anyone. You absolutely can. People are on there calling themselves auntie this and uncle that. Yes, we do, as especially with BIPOC, and I'm keying in on black, the B in the BIPOC, the black people. We are used to getting our life advice and advice about relationships and love from either our pastor or our elders, and I am okay with that. But where people are going wrong and not understanding and getting duped by these TikTok therapists is that where you're getting advice or you used to get advice from your aunt or uncle who is an elder in your community, in your life. They were actually your aunts and uncles. They were there when you were born. They watched you grow. They know your backstory. They know your history. They know who you are. To be able to say, I've watched you grow. I've have not only seen how you are, how you were raised, the foundation that you have, the people who raised you, your situation, if your parents were alcoholic, if your parents were on drugs, if you didn't have this, if you were a foster kid, they have all of that pertinent information that they use to collect with their experience and life experience of being on this planet for 5, 6 decades to give sound advice, or at least advice that is steeped in some specificity that it's for you. People who are on TikTok and Instagram who are opening these forums and allowing people to come in and ask questions and be guest hosts have no background, and they are doing damage, emotional and mental damage to people who are already showing and coming on there with emotional and mental trauma. And they're seeking advice, they're seeking kind words, they're displaying this just virtually, that they need reassurance and some solidarity. And the hosts are allowing random people from anywhere and everywhere just to like tear people apart and tear people down. It was so bad to a point where I got off of live and was like, oh my gosh, this young lady who was pregnant, talking about her situation. I was concerned that if this young lady was even going to be here today because of the way that she was being treated, the way that she was being badgered, the way that she was being harassed. It was that did it for me yesterday. It did it for me. I had trouble sleeping thinking about that young lady, and the way that they host the person who's supposed to be in control, the mediator, the moderator, allowed not only herself but other people to treat this young lady in her fragile state this way. Another young Black woman, she was 23 years old, the way that they did, and with no recourse, with none whatsoever. And she's explaining herself, and yes, she could disconnect, but she reached out because she didn't have that capacity. She was looking, she was yearning, and it was nauseating for me. So I went to another live and they were doing the same thing. Somebody else, another Black female, talking about she wrote a book on relationships and what she has, but then allowed her biases, allow her experience to overshadow what was going on, and giving out advice to other people and other women in similar situations without getting the full detail, without getting what we call history, and knowing their mental stability to be able to dole out this advice that they were giving. It wasn't generalized advice. I can understand if you're giving a general statement. They were giving very, very, very specific advice, like you need to leave him now, and you have no clue what's going on in her life, and got this young lady saying that she should leave, and or she should do this, and then one person saying leave, and one person saying stay, and another person saying fight, another person saying go to, call the police, another person said don't call the police. So now she's in this forum of someone who does not know, or from what she says does not have the ability to have a sound mental health professional to help her getting her mental health from a social media app. And it reminded me so much as I was watching it, and I got off of it and I closed down TikTok, and the first thing I thought was, wow, these people had thousands of people watching. They had uh, likes, which don't mean much, but people agreeing. Likes are like agreement. Had almost 100,000. Had been on these lives for hours, running all day. That's all they do is do lives all day, and people are paying these people in gifts and roses and flowers, and giving them money to spew hatred, misinformation, unrealistic solutions, based and steeped in absolutely nothing except their short life experience and their short life um, purview, or their lens, is what we call it, their lens from their site. And it was like this cannot continue. It reminded me so much of like the MAGA. Like you sit there and say, well, how do people follow someone knowing better, and how do you get someone to fall into like this cult like mindset? It's happening to us as Black people on TikTok on a daily basis, and it just hit me yesterday. It really did, when I took the time to actually sit on someone else's live, not where I'm usually a panelist, of someone who's respectable and who's actually trying to do good, but just a random just jumping onto somebody's live, some coach who probably ain't never coached little league, that type of person. um, and then they don't say that this is my opinion. This is what I believe and not fact. So I think there needs to be a change. We're worrying about whether or not China is trying to take our trade secrets. We need to be figuring out if TikTok is doing more harm to our community and the mental health of the people in our community than they're doing good, and start to shut down those people and not allow those people, not their opinion. It's not freedom of speech because they're not just spewing their opinion. They're going under the auspices, under the shadow, under the guise that they are trained or have a license and giving information. And TikTok is like, oh no, that's fine. There's no harassment. There's no problem here. They're not looking into it or anything. That's the piece they should be looking at when it comes to um, TikTok being harmful for our kids and for our people. So please, parents, um, people who have that or stay on TikTok and live on TikTok that have um, mental health conditions and mental health concerns that are have mood disorders, stay on them as far as watching them and their well-being, because TikTok is not helping. Parents, watch your kids talking about bullying and lying and getting sucked into and being influenced at a rate that you would not believe. Parents, be vigilant about what your kids are doing on TikTok. I haven't seen this much on Instagram, but it's unbelievably rampant on TikTok. And the algorithm just lets me see it all the time. Um, I couldn't sit by anymore and not say anything and not speak or have a voice on it. So hopefully this wasn't too long and too rambling, but if you are a mental health provider, please do your due diligence and be a part of the solution and watch these lives and report these people who are doing more damage than they are doing good. Thank you. That's all I have.